I'm an idiot. I think that much is clear, and recently I downloaded the game Clash of Clans. Now this is a game that I would normally have no interest in. You know, it's very Farmville-esque and it feels like a game that your nan might play. However, there is an extremely addictive system in place with this game, along with many other games of course, but for now we'll just talk about Clash of Clans. So, Clash of Clans has that typical mobile/Facebook game mechanic, wherein which you buy some form of resource gathering object, and usually you might want to upgrade something along the way as well. Now this all happens in real time, I'm sure you're aware of this. So early on, upgrading a gold mine might only take you about 15 minutes or so, and that's barely any time at all. But as you slowly progress and you gain more things to build and things to upgrade, that's when they hook you in. Upgrading things and building early on was a relatively quick procedure. The base you made took shape in a matter of minutes, and it's pretty much self-sufficient. All you've got to do is come back every so often and give your collectors and your mines a quick tap. And there you go, you've got your resources. How easy was that? But now as time passes, you might want to look to build something else. Perhaps you've unlocked something new, so all you got to do is buy it and then plonk it down. And that's when you discover that it could potentially take about 7 hours to be finished. Of course, the jump from the small 15-minute, 30-minute, or maybe even an hour upgrade is exceedingly large. Not only that, but they only give you 2 builders to work with. So if you're already upgrading 2 things that take quite a long time, then your base is practically disabled for the entire duration. Now I'm not saying this is a bad thing, it may be a bad thing in terms of game design, but it's a very good thing in terms of a good psychological trick. Because what the game is actually doing is pushing you away. It's stopping you from playing the game and progressing. I mean, of course, you can still build units and you can take them into combat and play the online and play the single player, but over time, your units will become outclassed. This also works for the defensive side of the game where other players can attack you. Obviously, you want things upgraded because when people online decide to attack your base, you need your defenses to be the best they can be. But that can take some time. And of course, that time pushes you away from the game even further. And this is where the addiction comes in. Because you're seeing your base develop so quickly at first, and then it rapidly drops to a snail's pace, it may draw you to use their microtransactions. Now, some people will have no problems with spending a few pennies just to get an extra builder so they can build more things, or perhaps they may even spend that money on speeding the production up. Loads of games use that system in which you can pay a little bit of money and the production is instantaneously finished. So instead of something taking, let's say, 46 hours to upgrade, it's done right now. It's finished. That is a very tempting prospect for some people. For others, however, they will just flat out refuse to use any microtransactions whatsoever, much like myself. Either way you play it, you're still being rewarded, and thus the addiction kicks back in. If you pay for upgrades, then your upgrade in the game is finished instantaneously, so your money feels worth something. There's your validation. If you wait for the upgrade to finish, it sort of feels like you've accomplished something, that your patience paid off. You've also resisted the allure of microtransactions. So not only do you feel like you got things for free, you have that little feeling inside of you that said you were patient enough to do this. So for a person like me who is incredibly impatient, it feels good to have that sense of what feels like self-control, but what is actually just a clever way to reward you and keep you coming back. Now, as mentioned, loads of games do this. You've probably played a few yourself. They use that system of progression and upgrade, which takes a long time to go through. For example, games like Candy Crush. In Candy Crush you have boosts and lives. The boosts in the game cost a small amount of money and are essentially just a crutch to win difficult levels. Thus, if you win using one of the boosts, your money feels worth it. As for the live system, well, if you die a certain amount of times, then you can no longer play the game, you have to wait for lives. A lot of games like this will have a feature where you can send a message to your friends and they can send you lives and you can keep on playing. That's more of a community-based thing, which people really dislike, and that's something that has made people stop playing these kinds of games, and that's probably why you'll see a lot less community-based games. It's more single player with an online element to them. So obviously, you got no lives, you can't play the game anymore, which of course forces you away from the game. Well, you could just put a few pennies on and then buy some more lives and you can start playing again. And then the cycle begins anew. You either pay the microtransaction, win and then feel justified, or you don't pay, eventually win and then feel a sense of accomplishment. As mentioned, loads of games use this progression and upgrade system. Even AAA titles use this method, and sometimes, I have to admit, they're even worse in terms of upgrade times. You thought waiting a day to unlock a new level, or waiting a couple of hours to get a new cannon was bad? Try developing anything on Metal Gear Solid 5 that is grade 7 or higher. You can only develop 4 things at a time, and they'll take at least 12 days. But then again, in Metal Gear Solid 5, it all happens in the background, so it's not really necessary, but it's very good to have. You know, it's a good variation on the addiction system. Unfortunately, a lot of games have moved away from being rewarding in and of themselves, and have moved towards an addiction-based system of making you work for something, work really hard for something in some cases, and then they push you away for a period of time. And then they eventually let you back in, enjoy the progress you've made for a short while, and then they push you away again. This cycle keeps on going, and it draws more and more people in every day. It's also very difficult to quit these kinds of games because people have either spent too much money on it to feel like they can quit, or they've spent too much time on it, so if they quit now they feel like all that time has been wasted. It's a very sneaky and clever psychological trick, and I have to say, I fall for it every single time.